Sasha's Secret Life 4, copyright 2025, Asa Millila, all rights reserved. In the sleepy, sun-drenched town of Whiskerville, nestled among rolling green hills and a sparkling blue river, lived a tabby cat named Sasha. To the casual observer, Sasha appeared to be the epitome of feline laziness. She possessed strikingly green eyes that often seemed half-closed in perpetual drowsiness, and she carried herself with a languid grace that suggested her greatest ambition in life was finding the perfect sunbeam for an afternoon nap. The Johnsons, a kind but somewhat oblivious family, adored Sasha. They believed her greatest joys consisted of napping on soft cushions, chasing dust motes across the living room floor, and occasionally batting at their ankles as they walked by. Little did they know, Sasha harboured a secret that would have sent their eyebrows shooting up in surprise and possibly caused them to spill their afternoon tea. The truth was, beneath that facade of feline indolence, Sasha was Agent S, a highly trained and resourceful spy for the Feline Intelligence Bureau, or FEB. The FEB, a clandestine organisation dedicated to protecting Whiskerville and its inhabitants from all manner of threats, both furry and otherwise, operated from a hidden high-tech headquarters beneath the old whiskerberry tree in the town square. This ancient tree, with its gnarled branches and whispering leaves, was not only a beloved landmark, but also a cleverly disguised entrance to a world of espionage and intrigue. A world filled with gadgets, gizmos, and the occasional high-speed chase involving squirrels with tiny, modified skateboards. Sasha's missions for the FIB were varied and often perilous, requiring a unique blend of stealth, cunning, and agility. She had a knack for languages, able to speak fluent Mioranian, a rare and complex dialect spoken by a reclusive clan of mountain cats known for their intricate tapestries and their surprisingly aggressive stance on proper yarn ball etiquette. And she could scale a 6-foot fence in under 3 seconds, a skill she had honed through years of rigorous training that involved countless hours of leaping, climbing, and the occasional daring escape from a particularly persistent vacuum cleaner. Her sleek tabby fur, which appeared brown in most light, possessed a remarkable chameleon-like quality, allowing her to blend seamlessly into the shadows, a skill that had earned her the reputation of being the whisper wind among her fellow agents, a name whispered with a mixture of awe and respect in the shadowy corridors of FIB headquarters. Her primary adversary was a nefarious feline known as Dr. Claw, a disgruntled former FIB agent. Dr. Claw was a genius inventor with a penchant for the dramatic and a burning desire to rule Whiskerville with an iron paw. His schemes ranged from the absurd to the genuinely dangerous, often involving elaborate contraptions, mind-bending gadgets, and a legion of equally eccentric followers. Sasha had thwarted him on numerous occasions, their rivalry a constant undercurrent in the otherwise peaceful town of Whiskerville, a rivalry that had become the stuff of legends within the FIB, whispered around water bowls and during late-night stakeouts. One particularly peaceful evening, as Sasha lay on her cushion, pretending to be deeply asleep while subtly monitoring the Johnsons' activities and making a mental note to remind them to dust under the sofa more often, her highly specialised FIB device, cleverly disguised as a small plush toy mouse, began to vibrate. This was no ordinary toy. It was a state-of-the-art communication device, equipped with a miniature holographic projector, a built-in GPS tracker, and a direct link to FIB headquarters, allowing for secure and discreet communication even in the most compromising of situations. She subtly opened one eye, ensuring that the Johnsons were indeed fast asleep, and that Mr. Johnson wasn't about to trip over her again, as he often did during his late-night snack raids to the refrigerator, his footsteps heavy and his movements somewhat less than stealthy, before pressing a hidden button on the toy. "Agent S, we have a situation," came the urgent, slightly muffled voice of Chief Whiskers, the stern but fair leader of the FIB, his image flickering on the tiny holographic display. Chief Whiskers, a distinguished Persian with a perpetually worried expression, a neatly trimmed white beard and a pair of spectacles that magnified his already large eyes to an almost comical degree, was known for his calm demeanour and his unflappable leadership, but tonight his voice betrayed a hint of genuine concern, a tremor that spoke volumes about the gravity of the situation. Claw has been detected near the abandoned toy factory on Maple Street. We believe he's up to no good, and we need you on site immediately." Sasha's heart quickened with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. This wasn't just another yarn ball theft, or a plot to replace all the catnip in Whiskerville with dried oregano. This sounded serious, a threat that could potentially jeopardize the very fabric of Whiskerville's peaceful existence. "I'm on it, Chief," she replied, her voice barely a whisper, already formulating a plan in her mind, her keen intellect working at lightning speed to assess the situation and devise a strategy. With the agility of a seasoned spy, she slipped off the cushion, stretched languidly to maintain her cover, and then, with a burst of speed that would have surprised even the most athletic of dogs, darted out of the cat flap and into the cool night air, a blur of tabby fur against the moonlit landscape. The abandoned toy factory loomed on the edge of Whiskerville, a dilapidated structure that had long been rumoured to be haunted. Its broken windows gaped like empty eyes sockets staring out into the night, and the wind whistled through its skeletal frame, creating an eerie symphony of moans and creaks that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest of nocturnal creatures. A place where shadows danced and whispers echoed, a place that even the local raccoons avoided after dark. Sasha approached cautiously, her senses on high alert, every fibre of her being attuned to the subtle sounds and scents of the night, her ears twitching, her whiskers quivering, her nose twitching as she picked up the faintest of clues. As she neared the factory, she could hear the faint sound of clanking metal, the whirring of machinery, and the unmistakable cackle of Dr. Claw, a sound that sent a familiar shiver of annoyance down her spine, a sound that was both grating and unsettling, like nails on a chalkboard combined with the screech of a rusty hinge. Her whiskers twitched with anticipation. She located a broken window, partially obscured by a tangle of overgrown vines that looked suspiciously like they were trying to strangle the building, just large enough for her to slip through, and stealthily entered the darkened building, her every movement precise and deliberate, her paws landing silently on the dusty floorboards. The interior of the toy factory was a chaotic mess of discarded toys, overturned boxes, and cobwebs that hung like ghostly shrouds, draped over forgotten playthings like macabre decorations. The air was thick with the smell of dust, rust, and something else, something acrid and vaguely menacing that Sasha recognized as the scent of Dr. Claw's latest invention, a concoction of ozone, burnt plastic, and a hint of something that smelled suspiciously like overcooked tuna and desperation. The factory was a labyrinth of shadows and forgotten dreams, a place where discarded dolls stared with vacant eyes and broken toy soldiers lay scattered like fallen warriors. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the depths of the factory, followed by Dr. Claw's booming voice, amplified by a makeshift loudspeaker system that sounded suspiciously like a rusty drainpipe and crackled with static, making his voice sound even more menacing. "With this device," he proclaimed, his voice echoing through the cavernous space, bouncing off the walls and rattling the loose panes of glass, "Whiskerville will finally be mine! All will tremble before my gene! Wah!" His laughter, a grating high-pitched sound that seemed to vibrate the very foundations of the building, was enough to make even the resident bats wince and cover their ears with their tiny wings. Sasha's green eyes narrowed. She had to act quickly before Dr. Claw could unleash whatever nefarious scheme he'd cooked up this time. A scheme that undoubtedly involved some combination of mind-bending technology, ridiculously oversized machinery, and an unhealthy obsession with world domination. Activating her spy gadgets, she donned her night vision goggles, which transformed the darkness into a vibrant green-tinted world, highlighting every detail of the dilapidated factory, from the smallest speck of dust to the largest, most menacing-looking piece of machinery, and extended her miniature grappling hook, a device that could launch a tiny but incredibly strong hook attached to a retractable line, allowing her to traverse treacherous heights with ease and swing across vast chasms with the grace of a seasoned trapeze artist. With the grace of a seasoned acrobat, Sasha ascended to the rafters, her movements silent and fluid, her paws barely disturbing the thick layer of dust that coated the wooden beams, her body a symphony of controlled motion as she navigated the treacherous network of shadows and supports. From her elevated perch, she observed Dr. Claw and his gang of mischievous mice. Dr. Claw, a rather scruffy-looking Persian with a perpetually furrowed brow, a sneer that seemed permanently etched onto his face, and a mechanical claw, the result of a mishap with an experimental laser pointer and a particularly unfortunate incident involving a ball of yarn and a very angry squirrel, was holding aloft a glowing, pulsating Gadget. His eyes gleamed with manic glee as he explained his nefarious plan to his diminutive followers, who nodded eagerly, their tiny eyes shining with reflected light, their tiny paws twitching with excitement, their tiny hearts filled with dreams of cheese and world domination. The mice, a motley crew of misfits and malcontents, were an odd sight to behold. There was Fingers, a nimble-fingered thief with a penchant for pilfering cheese and a surprisingly sophisticated knowledge of lockpicking. Twitch, a hyperactive speedster who could run circles around any cat and possessed an almost supernatural ability to find the fastest route through any maze. And Professor Nibbles, a self-proclaimed genius with a penchant for building ridiculously complicated contraptions out of discarded scraps and a tendency to explain his inventions in long, rambling lectures filled with obscure scientific jargon. As Dr. Claw prepared to activate his device, a diabolical grin spreading across his face, a grin that stretched his whiskers and made him look even more sinister, Sasha knew she had to intervene. With a swift, decisive movement, she launched her grappling hook. The tiny hook soared through the air, a silver streak against the gloom, attaching itself to the glowing Gadget just as Dr. Claw pressed the activation button, a daring move that required perfect timing and nerves of steel. With a powerful tug, Sasha yanked the Gadget from Dr. Claw's grasp and landed gracefully on the factory floor, the precious device safely in her possession. The mice scattered, their tiny squeaks of surprise echoing through the factory, a chorus of high-pitched exclamations that quickly turned into squeaks of fear as they realized their leader's plan had been foiled. "Not today, Dr. Claw," she declared, her voice cool and confident, echoing through the vast chamber. "Your plans are foiled." Dr. Claw whirled around, his face a mask of fury, his one good eye blazing with incandescent rage, his mechanical claw twitching erratically. "Agent S, you meddlesome feline! How dare you interfere with my grand design? This time victory will be mine!" He lunged towards Sasha, his mechanical claw outstretched, a whirring, metallic blur, but Sasha was far too quick for him. With a nimble sidestep, she dodged his attack and with a well-aimed swipe of her paw sent him sprawling into a nearby pile of discarded stuffed toys, a mountain of plush creatures that cushioned his fall with a soft oof. His gang of mice, realizing that their leader had been defeated and that their dreams of cheese and world domination were dashed, scattered in terror, their tiny squeaks echoing through the factory as they fled into the shadows, their tiny tails disappearing into the cracks and crevices of the dilapidated building. Sasha deactivated the glowing Gadget, which immediately ceased its ominous pulsing, the strange energy dissipating into the air with a faint hiss. After ensuring that Dr. Claw was thoroughly incapacitated, entangled in a web of colourful plush limbs and surrounded by a pile of bewildered-looking teddy bears, she made her way back to the cat flap. The first rays of dawn painting the eastern sky with hues of pink and orange, a promise of a new day dawning over Whiskerville. She slipped through the flap and onto her cushion, curling up into a seemingly innocent ball of fur just as the Johnsons began to stir, yawning and stretching as they prepared to start their day. They awoke to find Sasha lounging lazily, purring softly, completely unaware that their seemingly ordinary tabby had once again saved Whiskerville from the clutches of the nefarious Dr. Claw and his eccentric band of followers. And so Sasha's secret adventures continued, one perfect mission at a time, her life a delicate balance between the mundane and the extraordinary, the ordinary and the outlandish. A life filled with danger, intrigue, and the occasional close call with a rogue squirrel on a skateboard.